Here we are, another Monday night, and we're in June. How interesting is that? How did that actually happen? A couple of weeks ago, it seemed like it was January. And now we're in June. Just amazing when you look at how the months and the weeks are just rolling by. Okay, we are set up here tonight with our Roger the microphone. He's very cool. We went and purchased him about 10 days ago. And boy, he is making a massive difference to how we do the webinars because the microphone is so good. We don't have the problems that we had in the past. It just picks up a lot of sound. Now, you may find that you can hear the fountain going in the background, or every now and then you hear a car go past. That's Roger. He's doing a great job. Okay, let's get going. 7th of June, 2021. 2021 is happening now. And what a year it's going to be, because we've got just over half a year left. And wow, are we seeing some changes? We're going to talk about some of them tonight. We have great information that doesn't answer all the questions yet, but it is good to see it coming from the bodies that control the metals trading systems in the world. So we are working on how we tie into that to get better information, but hey, we'll get to that. Let's get moving. Everyone goes forward together. Don't forget it, believe in it, pick up the phone, send an email, whatever you need to do. If you need help, someone will help you. That's what we're about. That's what the entire group is here for. So just make sure that you understand you do have someone you can call. Make it your priority. If you're lost, give us a call. Okay, welcome everybody. And we are here as a group, coming together to share ideas and information that we've found. And tonight, we're going to share a video. Remember, I said we might have a new one soon. Time to get your pen out and see if you can spot the differences in this video from here on. There you go. How was that? What's everyone think of that? We have put a fair bit of effort into that to make sure that we've got some more information in there. There will be obviously new versions come out as we tweak it. Get rid of the fancy transition. Not enough time for people to read it without moving all over the place. Yes, that's why we tell them to use the pause button, Martin. It's, yeah, if you don't have some flash transitions in there, I mean, we can make it longer, but I'm trying to make it just a short 2.5 minute video. And we then run into the time constraints, but it's just, we're playing with it at the moment. We will have a few other versions of it, and it will be probably available on the YouTube channel in the next 24 hours, and we'll have some other versions up there as well. But thus far, yeah, it's something we've got to do to get people's attention, get them hungry for information. So I'm not sure how we do. If there's any information you think needs to go in there, we can make it longer, but we're trying to keep it down to 2 to 3 minutes as simply an intro video. Anyway, we'll then have another version that we can send to people with more explanations in it, which we're working on now. How is a new version of the short overview second video that we sent project? That's the one we're talking about right now. So we'll have that done, I hope, by the end of this week, Brad. It will be a follow-on from this with a lot more information in it. Okay, remember, this is our opinion only. We are sharing information with you that we have come across, we have unearthed, we have dug up. There are times when I think, are we the only people in the world with a shovel? But anyway, we just keep on digging up things and working out how to use it to our advantage. We don't represent any of the companies that we affiliate with, and we don't give financial advice. So this is, by default, a Gold Rocks webinar where we are giving you information for your education. You choose to do what you like with it, and we will help you if that, in fact, comes to the fore. My antivirus has just kicked in and popped up a window to say you've got no viruses, but it was over the top of everything else. Okay, remember, we're going to talk about a sponsor tonight because end of financial year is coming up, but I also want to talk about the end of months. We are practicing trying to get people through the system as quickly as possible when it comes to the end of the month. So make sure you understand there is a cutoff for your 1BV. And it's not as simple as sending the money in. You need to place the order at the moment. And there are parts of it that are beyond our control. So it needs to be done by midday on the last weekday of the month. When I say done and completed, that means it's got to be placed by you in the AU4U system. The payment's got to be received and processed. The order's then got to be sent by admin to the vault, all by noon on the last day of the month. So don't leave it to the last day. When you send in a copy of your receipt with the bank transfer, it can take, depending on the bank, 2 to 3 days for that money to actually show up. Now, I know some of you will say, but everybody's on OSCO. It should be 2 hours. Yeah, I know. It should be. It isn't. There are lots of times when it is and a bunch of times when it isn't. We did a transfer just recently that took 2 or 3 days to show up. And it depends on the day, the time of the day, is there a holiday, is there a weekend? It can take days to show up. Don't think it's instant. So remember, don't rely on the last day. If you call me and ask about it, I'm guessing that you can place the order yourself, because if you want the admin to do it, that could take a couple of days, because they've got to find the username and the password and log in and do it the same as you should do. So please get practiced at that. We're going to run a little video tonight to show you a little bit more information on that. You can't guarantee that the admin can get it done before the end of the month. If you're in the last day, it's probably already too late. So make sure you get it done earlier. This is why I keep rabbiting on about using the 20th of the month, because if you shoot for something before then or the first week, get it done early. All the rest of the stuff that happens through the month then is a bonus. It's just amazing how much simpler it is for us if the bulk of the transactions are done in the first 2/3 of the month. I'd love to be able to guarantee people that they could place their order on the last day of the month and it would work. But sadly, I can't, because there's a lot of issues that are beyond our control. Now, having said that, it's coming up to the end of the month in about 4 weeks, well, maybe 3.5 weeks. End of June tends to be end of financial year sales. Now, I've put on this slide tonight, even though we talked about it last week, but I've put on the slide the percentage you get back in gold from these merchants. That's very cool. KO, Ebo, Dan Murphy's for the men. 2% at Dan Murphy's, 3% on KO, so you can stream your sports. And I've got to tell you, it's very cool to be able to watch my favorite basketball team in America play live for the first time in years. And I do that through KO. It comes through on my phone or on the TV. eBay. Who doesn't buy things on eBay? I bought quite a bit of, little inconsequential things on eBay. I don't buy things like phones. I know there are some people that do, but I found the after-sales service just a touch dodgy when you buy something through eBay. Pardon me. Okay, 2 to 5% rebate, 3% on snooze, 5% on barbecues galore. And Skippy, as Jan McCloskey is saying, is giving 5% rebate. I know we did some transactions last week for members that have used Skippy for their pest control, and we've showed Jan and worked on it, and we sent the money over to their e-wallet so they can turn that into gold. Very cool. Okay. Here we are. KO, eBay, Dan Murphy's, and Endota Spa for the girls, 4%. Look at that. I know actually a pest controller who's a bit partial to having a spa day, and we'll see why later in the slides, but it's a cool place. You should check that out. Here we go. Rebel Sports, BCF, and Supercheap. And by the way, if you shop at Supercheap with a gift card, you're going to receive 3% back in gold. If you join their loyalty program in-house, you get another 10%. You get a 10% discount. You don't get it in gold. But that's very cool. That puts a big chunk off the margin that they're charging you. So they're all very cool. Can you tell us what to do? Have ComChoice on holdback? Are we still waiting to do that, or can we do it now? Yes, you can do ComChoice. ComChoice is unique in how they do their phone plans. So you only get a benefit the first month because you get all of the benefit for the entire plan the first month. So I'm going to meet up with Mr. ComChoice, Glenn, in the next few days, have a coffee with him so that he can easily do the transfers. And it is pretty simple now. We've made it really simple for him, and he will be able to do that as time goes on. Okay, let's get on to the next page. Look at this, JB Hi-Fi, 2%. Wish gift cards, 2%. Amazon, 2%. Whoops, went one too many. Amazon, one of the biggest, biggest retailer in the world. And we can get 2% back in gold by shopping there. So if you're an Amazon shopper, why not do it that way? Freedom Furniture, they always have a very big end of year sale. Get 3% back in gold if you do it with gift cards. Webjet, if you're going to take advantage of the holiday opportunities here in Australia, book it through Webjet. Get 4% back in gold. How can that be a bad thing? Just amazing that there are this many options for us to increase our gold value. Put gold in your wallet. So make sure that you understand all of these cards are available. And Cassie operates out of Waranga, west of Toowoomba Dalby. So the phone reception is spotty at best. If you don't already have an account, there's the web address, www.easyshoppingcards, all one word, .com. And about in the middle of the screen, you will see a button that says join and save now or something like that. Register an account. That's what you need to do if you're not already on this system. It's a great way to do your shopping. If you're buying a bottle of wine, Dan Murphy's, get gold back. If you're buying groceries at Woolies, you might as well get gold back. It's a great way to do your shopping, easy to keep track of, and what it's a simple way to add gold to your wallet. He did not know yet. Yes, Vivian will be having coffee with him, so yep, that'll all be good. Now, why are we here? Well, we are definitely a group of like-minded people, and we are here because we're focused on ensuring that we survive. The economic turmoil that's coming at us will be horrendous, probably and arguably the worst the world has seen. And you don't have to be a rocket scientist to come to that conclusion. Just read and look around. You'll see what's happening. So how is our world going? Okay, let's have a look. Here's a commentary on the Basel III agreements. Will they be implemented this month? We're going to talk more about that later, but Lynette Zhang, who's in the picture there, she's pretty brutal. Now, the Basel III agreements are about the banking system. And there have been lots of opportunities for governments and committees to regulate the banks. And they have, up till this point, chosen not to. But now the problem is getting so bad that even the banks, the big banks, are realizing something has to change. Great, Lynette Zhang. I will put her link in the description on the recording so you can watch that if you'd like. This dude, inflation brings this. Now, if you look at just the headline from that podcast, Food prices are rising and civil unrest will begin. They're scary words. This dude's in America, and he's talking about the fact that food prices will become so bad that civil unrest will blow up because people will be trying to feed their kids. And you guessed it, they all have automatic weapons. So there is a serious chance that things will get very, very ugly in North America. And here's another one that the same guy did. Millions of Americans are about to lose their benefits. Now, these are benefits that the American government was paying because of the COVID pandemic. Now, if you know anything at all about how America works, you can understand that there is no social security system. So when you have a job, you pay into your own unemployment account. So if you do lose your job, there is a little portfolio of money there to dribble out to you so that you can survive. But that only lasts while that amount of money that you've paid in is there. Once it's used up, you're gone. There's nothing. And what he's saying here is all of these benefits, the helicopter money as they call it, that the government has been pumping out there is drying up as we speak. What's going to happen to society? Here we are with our friend in Brisbane, and he talks about the millennials in this podcast, and scary number, 60% of millennials have no savings plan, zero. The very scary thing about that is if I put my shoes on and I stand beside them, there will be no retirement funding. There'll be no super funds. There'll be no pension when these kids get to retire. They will be wholly dependent on themselves. You don't have to look very far to see the Queensland government took $4 billion out of super funds a couple of years ago and another $1 billion shortly thereafter. $5 billion. And the reason they took it, they justified it in Parliament by saying, well, it's not their money anyway, it's ours at the moment. We'll give it to them when they need it. Now, let me ask you this. I'm not sensational at maths, but I understand that if you don't have the money today and every economic indicator is getting worse, how are you going to have the money in 20 years? Impossible. So that $5 billion is gone from the retirement funds of all the people that it got taken from. And if you think that I'm making this up, as Martin said, they bragged about it. They made a point of being amazing managers of money that they magically came up with $4 billion to throw into things. The only problem wasn't theirs. Now, if you don't have a problem with that, well, that's cool. But I can tell you there's a lot of people that do have a problem with it. So let's just make sure that we on this call are already aware. We need to make sure we have our own retirement plan and try and share it with as many millennials as you can, because they have never struggled for anything. And they're going to hit the end of their working life and realize there's nothing at the end. It's just stupid when you look at it. Here we are, Mr. Menarino. He quoted a Bank of America research document predicting that $100 a barrel crude is coming very soon. Think about that, $100 a barrel. Right. And it's not likely to change back in the other direction anytime soon. We're going to talk about that in a moment. And here's a quick podcast that talks about the future digital dollar. So every federal government, every central bank in the world is talking about a digital currency. The problem with that is really confronting. You cannot use cash. There will be no cash. So you can't give your kids pocket money. You can't put money in a savings, whatever you call, what do you call it? Tin, little, put the coins in. You won't have coins. Every single transaction you do will be controlled by the government. They will know where you are. Piggy bank, that's them, Brad, Malcolm, excellent. Piggy bank. Every single transaction you do will be controlled by the government. If they don't like you and they don't want you to travel anywhere, they just don't let you spend money outside of your immediate suburb. And you can't go anywhere. The only way we've got to defend ourselves from that is to have a currency we can use. And that's exactly what we're building. We'll talk about that very soon. We will have the ability to use gold, silver, digital currencies. We will insulate ourselves. People that don't think this through and just go along, I've had numerous people tell me, but the government wouldn't let that happen to us. Really? You really think that our government is going to do everything in their power to do the right thing by the electors, the electorate? The only thing a politician does once they're elected is spend money in a way that will get them re-elected. They're not interested in making the hard choices for us, the people on the street. It is beyond amazing when you look at the impact that a politician could make, but they don't, because all they're interested in is getting re-elected. I'm not sure what the answer to that is in politics, but the system we currently have, the system they currently have in America as well, is seriously flawed. Yes, and you're right, Brad. Everything that the government touches gets complicated, expensive, and breaks down, because you can't run that sort of stuff by committee. It's atrocious. What do you think is going on? You look at those 6 screenshots there. What do you think is going to happen? I'm not prescient. I don't confess to have a crystal ball, but I'm looking at those podcasts and go, yeah, right. I think there's a problem coming. They can't all be wrong. And they're just a selection of the people that I listen to. There are thousands of commentators out there now warning people there is a massive crash coming. Can't avoid it. Going to happen. Those of us that have thought this through and have an alternative, we will survive. And that's what we're about. So let's have a look at the inflation that the government tells us is roughly 2% a year. Okay? 2%. And you notice on that last slide, we had Gregory Mannarino talking about crude oil. Well, here's the graph for crude oil. Now you can see that's $69.33 US for a barrel. West Texas Intermediate. That's what WTI is. And that's the main standard that everyone measures against. West Texas Intermediate. $69.33. Now, if you look at the dates on the graph below, you can see that the price of that oil has almost exactly doubled in 7 months. 100% increase in 7 months. Wow. The Australian Bureau of Statistics also calculates the CPI, and this came from a government website today. also calculates the CPI, that's the Consumer Price Index, which they calculate inflation with, excluding volatile items. Really? Which is the average inflation rate of all the items in the CPI basket, except for, wait for it, fruit, vegetables, and fuel. Now you tell me, please, how do you survive in this world without being worried about the price of fruit, vegetables, and fuel? It's absolutely ludicrous, and somebody should take some of these politicians out into the back alley on a dark night and slap them around. This is atrocious. They're trying to convince us that inflation is less than 2%, and that's going to be transitory. There is 100% increase in 7 months. How accurate is our CPI? It's an absolute farce, Martin. You are correct. Absolute farce. But they're still trying to convince us that it's 2% a year. It is beyond stupid that they go on with that. Digital cryptocurrencies. This study from entrepreneur.com, completed end of May, came up with the fact that nearly 57 million people in the US are expected to buy cryptocurrency in the next year. Now, I'm not here to tell you that cryptocurrency is the new gold. It's not. It's a new type of currency. And we are building systems in the back end of this website that will allow us to use cryptocurrencies where we can pay amongst ourselves to any other people that get a wallet with gold by using a cryptocurrency to transfer the value. Now, I actually don't know what's going to happen with cryptocurrencies. I can't see them going away. I can see a lot of them disappearing over the years, but there are thousands of them. You can't outlaw something that's out in the world like that. You can't say you can't own Bitcoin. India's tried it. China's tried it. China's a little bit more successful because they shoot people. If you don't do what they want you to do, they just shoot you and charge your family for the bullet. So you've got to be very careful how you attack this problem. In India, they outlawed it because they didn't want to lose control of the currency system. Now, there's a small problem with the Indian government trying to outlaw cryptocurrency. Anyone guess what it is? Anyone like to make a comment? Why do you think the Indian government has a problem outlawing cryptocurrency? All of the programmers in the world that work on websites that do transactions, 90% of them live where? India. Now, if you've got all that brains trust in one country and they've been working on blockchain technology, wouldn't you think they've worked out how to get around the government saying you can't do it? And yes, Martin, you're right. They've been trying to ban it in India for years. Absolutely zero effect. Because all of these programmers know that this is going to happen. And they're making sure that they are part of that growth. And good luck to them. But nearly 1 in 4 Americans do not comprehend cryptocurrency at all. Surprised? No, I wouldn't think so. Whole lot of Australians don't understand it. I know enough to get in an argument about it, but that's about it. You've just got to make sure that you pay attention to what's happening in the world. 51% of Americans who own cryptocurrency bought it for the first time within the last 12 months. 51%. That means a year ago, the number of cryptocurrency holders in America was half what it is today. And that's the sort of growth we're seeing. 41% of Americans would consider receiving part of their salary in crypto, and 31% would consider receiving all of their salary in crypto. Now, once it starts to get out into the mainstream and people are getting paid with cryptocurrency, it's going to be very, very difficult for anybody to ban it completely. Yes, boom. Amazing. And this survey was completed just a few days ago. So make sure that you understand how big an impact this is going to make on the world. You don't need to be a salesperson to succeed with Gold Rocks and AU4U. You don't need to be a networker. But we're going to show you how to be your own bank and hold money in spendable assets, not paper or plastic. Make it spendable assets. Has anyone heard of the Basel III agreement other than what we just talked about early on? So we're going to talk a little bit about this at the moment because it is very, very impactful on what's happening in the gold and silver markets. This is due to be enforced at the end of this month for some banks and January for others, January 1st. So there are many lines of thought on this. Some people say it will never happen. The banks will never allow it to happen. Well, I don't know that they're going to have too many options because it's the big banks that are realizing this is so problematic that it needs to be dealt with. Basel III is a new agreement, and part of it is to stop banks using paper, gold, and silver to stack their balance sheets. Now, I had it described to me really simply the other day. When a bank decides that they want to get their trading desk to trade a ton of gold, they don't need the gold. They type up a piece of paper that says, we promise to supply 1 ton of gold. And off the traders go and they buy and sell based on that document. Here's the catch. That 1 ton of gold now magically is on their balance sheet. It doesn't exist, but it now shows up as an asset on their balance sheet because it's with their trading desk. So for them to be able to sell it or leverage it, has to show up on the balance sheet. Magically, that bank has just created a ton of gold that lets them leverage it enormously for money. That's the problem. It's not you and I, it's the banking system. Why is it going to work? Basel III is being issued and enforced by the Bank of International Settlements. Does that mean it will happen on the day specified? No. I suspect there'll be a lot of banks that will be kicking and screaming to not do this, because this, in the next few weeks, because we're talking about the end of this month, that there will be an enormous turmoil in the banking system. And you're right, Dan, no bank has enough money to buy and supply the gold they've already sold on paper. What's going to happen? I don't know, but I can tell you it's going to impact the metals market, and I think this will impact the price hugely, because all of a sudden there'll be people scrambling everywhere trying to cover contracts that they've got and they have to get out of. What will it do for the metals market? Well, here's some commentary. This guy is a senior member of a research group in the UK. And got some very interesting
manipulation of the
comments.
market is going to come to an end, and they know it, and they're desperate, and it's very difficult to see how they can square their books. So, if you've been victim of this this continual manipulation of the market, you may be laughing. I think I think the whole thing is actually very, very sad insofar as it had to happen. But given that it had to happen, thank goodness it is now finally happening.
We have a question that arises from an interview you just did last week with Craig Hemke on the TF Metals report. In that, you were discussing with Craig the potential ramifications and implications of the Basel III provisions that go into effect for some banks, which you can clarify here, at the end of the month of June, and then for other banks at the end of the year, and why you think that if this plays out, it may actually be very significant for the metals industry, for investors in general, for the rule of law.
Yeah. Well, the first indication we had of this was in the spring of 2014, when the committee that puts together the Basel regulations, which are the sort of, if you like, the overview regulations, which can be modified by local regulators, but basically they have to stick to the spirit of the Basel regulations. And Basel III was designed, if you like, in the wake of the Lehman crisis to try and ensure that counterparty risk didn't spread amongst banks, because obviously this is a huge issue, and everybody realized at the time that, my goodness, if the American authorities hadn't stepped in various of these instances, there would have been a complete global crisis. I mean, we had it developing in the German banks, for example, who had taken a lot of mortgage debt, American mortgage debt, on their books. Ireland, the Irish economy, which depended so much on the sort of international banking, European international banking, basically just turned turtle. It was just they ended up with the most massive debts, partly because their own banks collapsed in all this and they had to be rescued and so on. So obviously what Basel III had to do was to deal with this systemic risk. So if a bank goes under, and remember also that the G20 agreed to a change in the basic rules, that instead of bailing out banks, they were going to bail in banks. Now, the difference between the two is a bail-in, basically, people like bondholders and all the rest of it, they take the pain. The governments aren't meant to take the pain. The depositors, under whatever the figure is, £85,000, $125,000, I think, in America, whatever the figure is, the small depositors get bailed out, but everybody else can, make their own arrangements. Tough. But obviously, if you're going to do that, then you're actually making the systemic risk problem even greater, because the moment you get a problem, what happens to all the bank bonds? The bondholders just get out of every bank bond you can imagine, and then one stable source of financing for banks is effectively removed from the scene. So you're going to, bailing in actually, sort of makes the problem a lot worse. So
let me just see if I understand that. You're saying that the transition from a government bailout plan, which sounds pretty good to the common man on the street, it's like, other than unfairness, it's like, oh yeah, the bigwigs get bailed out. But what you're saying is at least the ordinary guy doesn't feel immediately a threat from it. Whereas bail-ins is basically putting everybody on notice. Either you should better do a run on the bank, or if you want to save your own skin, you better get your skin out of the game if you see the sniffing problem in the bank system.
Yeah, large depositors as well. I mean, people who don't have that guarantee that is only extended to smaller depositors. So, I mean, this is an absolute nonsense. I mean, I don't know how buying a house works in America, but basically, the money goes into the lawyer's pot. There's a lawyer's client account. Now, I just imagine under these circumstances, a lawyer's client account probably has tens of millions sitting in it. in transfer between house purchases and house sales and all the rest of it. That would get wiped out under these circumstances. I mean, the knock-on effects of banks not being bailed out by governments are really, I mean, it's just stupid. And obviously what governments are trying to do is they don't want to be lumbered with the cost of bailing out their own banks. They'll license them to print money, but they don't want to bail them out.
That's an interesting explanation, isn't it? All of these lawyers that do bank settlements for retail systems, this is something I had never thought of. Those accounts that have a lot of money in them, if there's a bail-in, that money is gone and you cannot get it back. So you're going to have a whole lot of people taking legal action against lawyers. And what do lawyers do really well? They will keep going to court till you go broke, because it doesn't cost them anything to defend themselves. So make sure you get really, really clear on what this means. Yes, Vivian, it's a very tragic circus. And it's not going to get any better. Everything that's happening in the banking world is designed to make this worse for us. Now, I'm going to put that link to that full interview in the description. The actual interview is about 55 minutes long. So, of course, we're not going to play that all tonight. But I'll put the link, and there is the link there if you want to pause the recording and you can type it in yourself and look for it, or just go to youtube.com/goldrocks, and this video will be up there. In the description will be that link where you can watch it, and I'll put some other links in there as well. So in making sure that the government doesn't get access to your money, you need to be sure to have assets not in banks. Now, as part of this interview, the guy talks about unallocated gold, because when they create paper gold derivatives, that's what the banks call unallocated. So there is no gold there at all. It's just a piece of paper. What we describe as unallocated is we have a pool of gold, and yep, I go and check it every now and then, and it's just not allocated and labeled on the shelf for the people that own it. The total of it is allocated to our company, and then we split that up down there. So it's a cheap, effective way to do it. And yes, Martin, passed in Australia in 2018, they will sweep your accounts. So in this interview, the guy talks about if you hold gold bullion in a bank, it's subject to the same bail-in. They will just take it. That's why the vault that we use is run by a private trust. The trust has no right to what's in the vault. They run the vault. And it's not connected to a bank. So there's no bail-in part of it. That's why we use those suppliers. Okay, let's have a look what's happened. Let's have a walk through. This is a new video I've done for purchases. Takes about 2 minutes. Let me know what you think. I've just put music on it. there we go. What do we think about that? Do you think people will be able to follow that? We've sent that on to a couple of people this afternoon without any hand-holding, said, try this, see if you can follow this. And if they come back and say yes, I think it's a goer. If not, we'll make some changes to it. Okay, let's move right along. Here's our dashboard. Just want to do a quick run through on this. The e-wallet is income that you've earned in the system. The gold wallet is gold that you either purchased or earned. Same with the silver, and the loyalty pool. That's the number that will get split up with all the qualifiers. So end of the year, the first month of qualification, that will get split up amongst all the people that joined a year ago, etc. So we'll send out more information on how that actually gets split up. But at the moment, that's what's in the loyalty pool. There's my name and my picture. Here's my referral links. Now, here's a note. If you have two people in the same household, or you're helping a cousin or a friend, when you log in to your AU4U account, in the menu on the left-hand side is a register tab. There's a catch. Once you log into your AU4U account and you click on that register button, if you've been logged in previously to another account, that's who it will try and register the new person to. We can't reset the username. So the short answer is, how do you guarantee it works? Go to your dashboard and copy the link. Open an incognito window and use the link. And it will make sure that it places the person in the right place. So choose either the left or the right. Have a look in your structure first. And there you go. That's a surefire way to make it work. Remember, I'm going to put this up until we find out who it is. If you send money to the AU4U account, you need to put your username or your phone number in the transfer. If the reference is wrong, it goes nowhere. So back in December, somebody transferred, wonderful individuals that they were, $300 to the wine fund. Now, we can't allocate that money until we find out who it was. So at the moment, it's just sitting there. Getting started, really easy. Register for free or buy a starter voucher. Acquire at least $100 of gold per month or silver. $100 of metal. That's 1 BV. Do it early in the month. Do not leave it till the end of the month. If you choose to, share the benefits of gold and silver with a few other people, and you'll get paid for that. But even if you don't, you will earn member benefits from the system just for saving your own metal. Nothing else like it in the world. Here's our shirts. We've had a run on the shirts. They are very cool. We've got medium, XL, and 3XL in the men's, a 12 and a 14 left in the women's, and we're about to place another order. So if you can work out what you think you need, you can take a pic and let us know. We will add it to the order. But wait, there's more. Have a look at this fine young individual. Mrs. McCloskey had to go to great lengths to go and find a model to model this jacket. And I can tell you she paid a lot of money to get him. That's a very, very warm jacket. Even himself decided that if it's not frosting, that jacket's too hot. But it does look very cool. It's got pockets outside, inside. It's a great jacket. We're trying to get some more, maybe some that aren't quite so heavy, because if I put that on, I'd be sweating in about 12 seconds flat. But it does look good. And the model, hey, we had to pay him a lot of money to get there. And don't forget about our quals. If you can afford to, costs about $60, I think, is the cheapest way to do it. You can sponsor a qual. We'll put the link, I think it's in the email that goes out every week, I think. Okay. Every week, the economic news gets worse, and it just gets worse and worse. But don't panic, Jonesy. We got gold and silver, baby. We are here to talk about real physical gold and silver, not ETFs, not unallocated, no allocated, no gold paper, real physical gold and silver. Everybody goes forward together. Has anybody got any questions from tonight? What's the estimated cost of the jackets? That one, Martin, was about, with the two logos on it, would have been about $65, $70. And because we bought that jacket, it was on we only found out later, it was a closeout deal. We got one because we thought, we'll get one and test it. If it works, we'll get some more of them. Only to find out that was the only size they had, and it fit Dan. But we're working on getting a couple of others, and we'll let you all know how that's going. But we will make sure that we get something and get it out there as quickly as possible, because if you're going to have a jacket, might as well be wearing it when it's cold. Any other questions from tonight about anything we've talked about? I'm excited that Basel III looks like it will be implemented. Just don't know exactly when. But we will get the information for you as soon as possible. Don't see any other questions. Don't see anybody unmuting. Thanks, everybody, for joining us. I love Monday nights. It's great to get everybody together and talk about things that are happening in the world. We look forward to seeing you on the golden beaches of the world.